Hello and welcome to another SolidWorks electrical video. In this video, we're going to talk all about cables. It's another sort of built-in manager that SolidWorks Electrical has that makes our ultimately bill of materials and more specifically, we'll have to do a separate list of cables, but it makes ordering and planning and configuring our project a whole lot easier. I'm absolutely in love with it. So cables are going to ultimately be treated a lot like manufacturer parts. The primary difference is it has a separate manager, so they're treated as cables. So if we look in library and cable reference management, these are all the cables that are, I haven't added any. These are all the default cables that SolidWorks comes with. Frankly, these categories, I have no idea what they mean except for maybe, AWG, the rest of these. I'll be honest, I don't know what they mean. I'm sure I could look them up, but, well, that one might be CAN bus, probably CAN bus, but I don't know any of these defaults. So to start out with, this is sort of where we're going to live. We need to create cables in order to use them. Um, and actually, I've never done this, so you're seeing this live because I'm just now noticing this electrical content portal. I'm going to go ahead and download or see if I can download some anyway, assuming I can remember my password. Hey, look at that first shot. So, same place we landed on in a previous video. I've never tried to download cables. My plan, as I don't script these videos, was to come in and pull down a cable and, or go to the website and make one, which I'll still do. I'll still walk you through that. But let's see what we've got. I mean, I like Lumberg. Lumberg is the cable that I was going to create for this tutorial. So let's jump to L and see if they maybe already exist. Lumberg, they just make good quality stuff. I've never had a problem with any of their cables. LS, we got to go Lumberg. Hey. Now I'm a little worried. So one part that's a splitter, connectors. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. Because it sounds like that's going to be the only part I'm going to get if I download it. So it was worth a shot, right? Worth a shot. So I do have in a browser tab open Lumberg Automation's website. I started out partly loving these guys. Well, one, they make good quality cables, but I started out partly loving these guys because their website used to be awesome for finding part numbers. Then they were bought by Belden. You can see a Belden brand up here now in their logo. Belden is also an awesome company, not knocking on Belden, but Belden's website, when searching for Lumberg cables, is kind of a nightmare. Yeah, I mean, frankly, just is to find what we need. This site, when it was just Lumberg, used to be kind of awesome for finding the part numbers, but since they've been moving things and whatnot, it's a little broken, but it's still okay. So I'm gonna find a cable, and I'm gonna go through the assumption. I've got my project open in SolidWorks Electrical, the one that I've been using for all of these videos. I did move some stuff around because it was really bugging me that I had, like for instance, on this drawing, I had an I/O module stuck here, and I would never put two things on one column that way. So I just added a sheet and started to move some stuff around just for my own sanity. I'm going to, though, go from this sort of tutorial with the assumption that in this first I/O point, this first input, I want to put a prox. And that prox switch, and actually we can drop the prox in. Let's insert a symbol and well, let's see. We might have to create a proximity switch symbol. Um, I don't know if that would be under, and I don't know if I have any in here. That's starters. Let's start there. I don't know if I have any. I don't know if I've got a symbol for it, and then I don't know where it would be. Let's try switches. Those look like just fuse disconnect. Okay, we do have some 3-pole switches and stuff in there, just regular switches, but we've also got disconnectors, so it's not in there. The other place to kind of look is in detectors and sensors. A lot of times things will pop in there. That looks like some banner stuff. Those look like line diagrams. So this is a prox. Prox switches, now again, I'm not exactly familiar with every possible symbol, like the basics, right? Temperature switches and stuff. We're in sort of a point now in today's day and age where we've got multiple symbols that are kind of possible for different things. If you want to be fully ANSI compliant, I'm sure there's a manual out there somewhere. Frankly, I haven't been able to find it showing all of the modern symbols. I don't know what they are. I'm just straight up honest. I don't know what they are. But I need a prox, and I'm going to grab a 3-wire on purpose just to give my cable somewhere to go. So we've got two in here. Normally open, and you can just sort of tell by the thumbnail, there's going to be two connection points, right? This one's going to have three. I'm going to treat one as the input, one as the power, and one as the ground. And I'm or common, and I'm making that up. I'm straight up making it up because again, I don't know if I've got a manufacturer part to assign to this or not. I just don't know. But I'm going to drop one of these in here anyway. So I'm going to rotate it so that it's correct. And I'm guessing this is an IEC symbol based on the fact that it, sort of came in. Let's set it back to default. It came in sideways, right? I'm assuming that's IEC, but we want it this way. So drop it in line with my IO or with the IO point that I want to use. And let's take a look at manufacturer parts and just see if I've got one. I don't know. Detectors and sensors. Proximity sensor 3, well, that works. I have no idea what this part number is. Right? I just don't know. I've got no idea what this part number is, but it says 3-wire. There's a 3-wire standard range. Now, I'm noticing right away the manufacturer part is coming in with a sensor circuit in the symbol. It wants a sensor. The symbol I grabbed has miscellaneous, right? Miscellaneous circuits. That's why I've got red here because this manufacturer part doesn't line up with these. So I am going to go ahead and modify a symbol, not the one I dropped in. I'm going to library, symbol management. And usually when it comes to the default symbols, I like to leave the default symbols as they are and make a copy and modify that. So I'm going to do that real quick. And I'm doing it in this isn't really the tutorial that I wanted to do, but I want to do it anyway in this video because it's part of the workflow. Like, oh crap, the symbol I have doesn't have the right circuits or the right text or whatever. So modify it, right? It's a standard part of the workflow. I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste. Okay. And it looks like that manufacturer part had one sensor circuit with three contacts. So first, because I'm going to use this thing vertically, since I'm modifying it, right? This is a copy. That's what the +1 is. In Windows, when you download the same file type, you'll get like a parentheses one. That's SolidWorks version, the +1. I don't need to change that. I will change the description once I get done here, so that it makes a little more sense. Or it's at least differentiated from the existing. But since I'm in here and I'm going to use this thing vertically, I'm going to rotate it, which is fairly easy. First, I'm going to delete the contacts because I don't need those circuits anyway. I need all new circuits. I'm going to move this guy so that this is the insertion point. So modify move, move, grab this, move it to 0, and then I'm going to rotate it, rotate about 0, and I should be able to just, well, if it pops in, I should be able to, there we go. That way, we're good. Now, as with most of our stuff, I'm going to, since this was sort of set up for the other symbol, the tags and the information, I'm going to move it all. Justification, we want bottom center probably. Move it over here. That looks good. Cross-reference. I can probably, first, I always shrink the cross-reference. I think I mentioned that. I want it smaller. I want it smaller because the other information is kind of more important to me. And probably I can tuck it in there and get away with it. Now, we do need to be careful because wires are going to come off here. We're going to have wire labels, maybe other components too. So we need to be a little careful. But I don't know what these are. Since I don't know what these are, rather than look for them, I'm just going to delete them. And then I'm going to go to my attributes, insert, and add the attributes that I want, which are going to be manufacturer, part number. And I'm going to select all. So that's the manufacturer. This is the part number. Okay, and that really should be good enough. I shouldn't need anything else. I am going to shrink them both a little, not as much as the cross-reference. Align them the other way, that way, and tuck them right up next to the So I want to give some distance right about there. That way it should be, should is a strong word. It um, should be now clear of this wire so we don't run into labels or anything else later. And really that's it. No, I need circuits. We need I'm going to delete that. That was the right circuit. Why did it say miscellaneous? Did I have it backwards? That Prox probably the manufacturer part from Allen Bradley probably wanted uh probably it probably had the miscellaneous. This had the sensors. Oops. Oops, I just didn't need to delete those, but that's easy enough. So edit symbol, new circuit, not an aux female pin. You are going to be a sensor and a detector. And I'm gonna rebuild it frankly the way it was because that probably makes sense. Three connections on this same circuit. Connection point, rotate so that it's going the right way. One, another connection point, same circuit, rotate. Two, same circuit. Three. Okay. I'm going to shrink these sort of labels just for appearances so that they're not, so much in the way. Plus pin numbers on proxies. That's basically what those would end up being, are pin numbers. That doesn't matter so much. So I've created a new sensor, also leaving this in, and I'm not going to modify anything. Make sure I save it. Not going to modify anything or edit this out of the video because it's part of the workflow to modify symbols or create them as you need them. It's also part of the workflow, like I just did, realize I screwed it up and didn't have to change so much. But so first, I want to go back to that symbol. I want to change some properties. Uh, nah, actually, we can leave it that way because I didn't change the circuit type. What I would normally do is if I had changed the circuit type to miscellaneous to match the part, I would have added it to this description, and you can do that just by opening the properties. That's the description you see. I would have added like miscellaneous circuit type to tell me when I'm looking in this window which one is which. But I don't need to do that because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and change that Allen Bradley part number. Detector sensors, um, proximity. Those are photoelectric from Banner. Oh, that would be cool too. But let's go. Where's that Allen Bradley part? Right here. These two. Okay. I can't do them both at the same time, but I can change it here. I'm just going to change this to sensors and detectors, delete the other two. And again, I've mentioned this in a couple of videos now. Add two more. Um, Now these, unless you know for certain, and actually I could do that. Unless you know for certain what procs you have and what goes on what pin, I would label these as the pin numbers. So plus minus input, right? I don't know this part number, but I'm going to go ahead and Google it and see if I can't find it so that I can be accurate. All about accuracy. Let's just Google that part number and see. We probably don't want an eBay listing, but let's see. MRO supply, maybe. I just want somebody that has a data sheet that tells me what signal is on what pin. That's all I'm looking for. Capacitive documents spec sheet. Now, Allen Bradley spec sheet probably has a ton of them in there, right? Yeah, it kind of does. And that was what part number? Got to get my little Zoom recording menu out of the way. Come on. It's supposed to auto hide, except when you need it to auto hide. There we go. Let's see. That was part number 872C. So in here, World Procs General Purpose, page 73. World Procs General Purpose, page 73. 73. 72, 73. There we go. Do we have a pinout? Pinouts are good. Do we have a pinout? We're still in that category. Somewhere should be a pinout drawing. There we go. Let's see. Okay. So we see our symbol. I know but brown and blue are going to be the power, but which pin is which now is the cable. Okay, we've got colors on pins, so that's going to be important. We've got colors on pins, and we have to line the color up here basically. Which switch specifically are we dealing with? M4 CP12D4. So I really need to look M4. I need to find that part number, basically, so we know what we're talking about. M4 CP, right? M4 CP12. M4 CP12. Again, as riveting as this content is, I'm leaving it in because this is the workflow. M4. The cool part is, again, since everything's database driven, once you do these changes and get things right, you don't ever have to do it again. M4 CP12. Why am I blind? I could just do a find on it, couldn't I? M4. Let's do that. Let's do a find. M4 CP12. Right there. Is that right? P3? D4. But that's the only one they've got. I don't know what the D means. What does the D mean? So that prox QD style is what it's telling me. It's going to have a pigtail with a 4-pin on it. I'm going to guess that the D's. I'm going to guess. Yeah, there's the D4s. It doesn't show it here. The D4 is going to have a. Oh no, the P3 is going to be an M8. Quick connect. I'm guessing since all these D4s, that's going to be a D4 version of a M12. Micro would be M12, Pico would be M8. So we're going to stick with that. It'll be the M12 4-pin style, which would be right here, this version. And we'll use that as sort of our jumping off point. So one is brown. So pin 1 is brown. That's our positive. Right? This is what it's telling us. Pin 1, L plus. So I would come in here on the circuits. I would label pin 1 brown. And actually maybe L plus even, right? So that when it comes into my schematic, and we'll see in just a second, that's actually what will show up on the schematic. Again, I am a fan of documentation, like document. Pin 3, L minus, and that is should be blue. L minus 3 is blue right there. BLU, L minus. This one is going to be, oh, not 2, that should be 3. Change it to 3. Not, it's pin 3, there we go. And then pin 4, right? They're not using pin 2. Pin 4, oh, it kind of depends. It looks like it's a dual contact. It can be NPN or PNP, maybe. So maybe we want a 4th contact point? Nah, I don't think we want to do that. That would just get us nuts. Well, yeah, there's the 4-pin right here. It's showing the 4-pin. So maybe that's a thing to do in the future. I'm not going to worry about that now. For now, I'm just going to label it as pin. Well, I'm a PNP guy, so let's label it as pin 4. Um, uh, Probably not the most accurate, but for now, pin 4 should be black or black. BLK, and I'm going to call it just input. So, okay, that part's now good. Now I can drop my symbol in all that time later. Insert symbol. It should be, no, I need to select the one I modified. Select the one I modified, which is this guy. Unrotate it. I was worried it came in sideways because it was rotated still in the settings. So drop it in. We're going to grab a part. We're going to search for a detector and a sensor, and we're going to grab that first Allen Bradley one because I didn't update the other ones, right? I'm green now, right? I'm green because the circuit in the part and the circuits on my symbol match. Okay, and notice I've got pin 1, L plus, pin 2. I may, like, looking ahead, I would actually probably go back and modify the symbol again because inputs. Now, this is SolidWorks' default like PLC manager input module. I would usually put inputs over here and outputs go on this side, right? It's just a convention I like. But if their default's going to be this way, what I was getting at is my normal method would be to have the input over here, which means I kind of want uh, this over here, probably up here. It's a whole thing playing with and getting these connection points in the right spot for how you work. It's a hard thing to sort of visualize, but given that, I in a previous video said that I was actually kind of impressed by this. I may stick with using the default PLC input cards from now on. Orientation doesn't matter so much, except a wire is going to have to snake back around now, right? It's going to get weird. So I probably actually want this up here so I don't encroach on the next rung. It's going to get kind of weird, frankly. Frankly, it's going to get kind of weird. So up there somewhere. Um, I am not, yeah, I can connect to this. And I'm just going to connect this here and it's just got to loop back around. Um, why is it looping so funny? I don't know, but there it is. It's looped around. We need a positive wire and we need a negative wire or a common wire. And in that case, I'm going to switch to my DC common wire type. Created that in another video. Go check that out. Now, in this project, also in another video, I showed you how to create terminals. We do have a terminal strip in here with power and common on it already, so I'm going to connect terminals here and just select one that's not used for now. I did power on 2, I think, level 2, so let's do that, if I remember right, and common on level 1. Okay. So now if I update my wires in my process, number new wires, yes. So 702 is here. That's good. It's on page 702, right? Um, and if I show wire marks, I should get 409, and this one should just be 1 because I never went back and renumbered it. So we're good. We got power and common on the right side. That's cool. Um, but again, notice, I mean, this is kind of crowded with text. That shouldn't matter. Crowded with text means we have a ton of description on here. It actually, believe it or not, as crowded as it looks, makes it clearer. As long as, like I said, certain text we want to shrink, like I could probably make this part number and stuff smaller. I could do even better with this symbol, with the like this layout, because it was originally IEC and meant to be horizontal. I could move these connection points so that it makes more sense. Probably shrink the whole symbol down so that it makes more sense. Like a lot of times the proc symbol will be this switch inside this diamond, and then we just come out each side of the diamond. And so that symbol gets a lot smaller when we think about it. So there's a lot of things we can do, but the text really shouldn't be the concern. The fact that there's a lot of it and it's crowded, because that's information. It's information that's only going to help somebody build this thing. Like, imagine I hand this sheet set to a maintenance person that has never done electrical work before. He needs as much information as I can possibly give him. Okay. Now, what I am going to do, seeing what I'm planning for this video, the cable part, which we haven't, believe it or not, I am going to spread these out. Believe it or not, we are firmly in cable tutorial because this is the first step. We got to have a part and we got to have wires before we can, sort of mess with cable. Okay. Got to have a part, got to have wires before we can mess with cable. Right. And I'm going to need more labels in here, so that's why I moved those out. I know I need more room for more text. Um, but yeah, again, we can play with like placement of all these labels and stuff, everything. So for quick and dirty, this works. Now we want to search for a cable. We need an M12 sensor cable. We need an M12 sensor cable. And there's my browser. Get the zoom thing to go away again. Every time you switch tabs, it's weird. All right, Lumberg connectivity, and it's going to be I think industrial connectivity. Is that right? Yes. And we want micro M12, right? And we got all kinds of cables down here. Now, I will say, the thing that has gotten me in trouble ordering Lumberg cables in the past is realistically the jacket type. There's all kinds of materials that they offer, like gray. You see PVC right here is the jacket around the cable. That actually it matters. Jacket matters. It really does. Um, but it's mostly dependent on environment. So if we're in like a corrosive environment, an environment with coolant, stuff like that, we want a material that can handle it. Frankly, usually that's not PVC. Usually that's like a PUR, polyurethane. But the different jacket types are the thing that usually get me in trouble because I'll buy one that's like uber rare and then they have to custom build it at the factory and stuff. So what I usually do, frankly, with cables, I have a really good vendor for Lumberg that's also H Barnum. Frankly, what I do with cables is I hand him the list of cables I need and say I don't care about the jacket material because most in my applications most of the time I don't. Here's what I need at the lengths I need. I need a male to male at this length. Give me what you got in stock. And it'll go from like a 16 week, they have to build it at the factory lead time to, hey, we've got 80,000 of them on the shelf, right? So it's good to have good vendors that could do that kind of stuff. But so we want a part number and we want a single ended, I want just open wires on the other side. M12 on one side, uh, it's got to be an M12 female because the procs we grabbed, straight body's fine, M12 threads, and 4 poles. There's one right there. It's even got an LED in it. So it's even got an LED in it. So I'm going to go ahead and create that cable in my library, cable reference management, probably under AWG, probably even deeper. Like we can get to the PDF, and this should be more details for this cable. So the individual wire gauge, does it tell me what it is? Gives me the OD of the cable, which we will need. Individual conductors, does it tell me? They are probably going to be something like 18 gauge. Maybe even smaller, 20. Uh, yeah, but here's the available link. So 2510, we can get it in. That's the other thing. This using cable sort of requires you to have in your head a physical view of where everything's got to go to. Um, Especially, it's not so important. You just, with a single-ended cable, we just need it long enough to get there. We can always cut it. A double-ended cable, we definitely have to have an idea of how long we actually need. We can always wrap up extra, but we don't really want to cut a factory cable end off and then sort of splice it onto a shorter cable. Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So we need an idea of lengths. So that's an idea to keep in mind. We can't really get that just from the electrical schematics. It's a thing we just have to sort of work through and whatnot. So I don't see individual conductor sizes. I'm going to guess it's like 20, 24 gauge. So I'm going to pop it in here in this category, right? In this category. Oh, look, there's a belted. That's probably an Ethernet cable of some sort, a COM cable. Seven, I don't know what 7 by 30, if that's 7 pairs, I don't know. But anyway, we're going to create a new one. Reference is going to be the part number from Lumberg, which is here. Okay. And there, so with Lumberg cables specifically, I'm just going to grab this top one. No, that's a 3-pin. I don't want a 3-pin. This guy. 4-pin. Um, with Lumberg, the dot 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 M, the dot 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 is going to end up being the length. So for what we're doing, I'm going to make it up. Was that also the female? PNP. Um, RKT. Okay, RKWT is the right angle, so I want the RKT. That's straight. But the dot dot dot's going to get replaced with the length. So that's the part number that's going to go into the reference. And then I'm going to replace it with, I don't know, in this case, 2 meter, right? Roughly a 6-foot cable. Okay, the dot 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 will not tell the vendor anything, but the dot 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 is where the length goes. So now from this part number, this is a part numbering style Lumberg uses that I love. I loved it when I was in manufacturing. Then we switched away to numbering that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But This actually contains, it's coded to contain all of the information about the cable. So the length is there. I just talked about that. RKT is a straight female cable. LED means it has an LED in it. I believe the 646 is the material. I don't remember what the F and the 4 mean, but that part number tells Lumberg and the vendor exactly what this cable is, which I love. So manufacturer, do we have Lumberg? We don't have Lumberg. We got Belden. I probably would add Lumberg, and to add a manufacturer, you just type um, Lumberg, right? You just type to add one. It's better to, if you have it, it's better to grab it from the list because misspelling a vendor that you already have counts as a new vendor, which kind of sucks because then you have two, and it's a thing. Library, I always like to put parts that I create. Cables are parts, effectively. I like to put them in user. Family, let's see, what do we have for choices? I don't know what these families are. I truly don't, so I'm going to leave that blank. Standard series, I don't know what any of that means. Mark root, so when I use one of these cables, what are we going to call it? I'm going to call it CBL, cable. Um, it's a control cable. Length, in our case, this was, did I grab the 2 meter? Yes, 2 meter. Diameter of the cable. Again, this is all just for us, 4.82 millimeters. This is for us, 4.82, to be as clear as possible on our schematics. That's, I mean, um, taking the time now just gives us more clarity on the schematic later. So color, it is black. I mean, technically, I think that's a gray, but do they call it black? I don't see them. Oh, I need to grab this description because we didn't pop that in here. Reference manufacturer. Oh, it doesn't have room for a description. We can always use user data. Oh, and there's a description right there. So that's going in here. M12 round plug connector, single-ended cord sets with LED. Now I'm going to modify it slightly because this is female. And at the end, I would put 2 meter. All right, back to properties. Bend radius, I mean, they all have one. I don't know that it's published here, but we do have current ratings and stuff. That doesn't really tell us much. Cross-section diameter, I couldn't. This is where the actual gauge of the wire would go. Um, I don't have that information available. If I assume it's, I can put it in there, I guess, if I assume it's a 24 gauge, so I guess we could do that, except I don't know what that is in AWG off the top of my head. 24 gauge 2 millimeters squared. 0.205, there we go. So conductor section, 0.205 millimeters squared, right? Diameter, does it tell me here? Cross-sectional area. Doesn't really tell me what the diameter is going to be. Yeah, that's good enough. We got kind of the gauge in there. So user data, that's all we really need there is the description. Then cable cores is kind of the meat and potatoes. This is where we define the individual wires that are in the cable. So I got four. It's a 4 wire M12. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, about that fast. Uh, Individual colors matter, right? M12 has a pinout. Let's go back to Lumberg's page and the PDF. And of course, zoom hops back in the way. Lovely. Love it. You gotta love it. If I zoom in here, right, we've got pins and colors, right? Each wire has a color, which is important because on one end, this is flying leads. On one end, there's a connector. On the other end, there's nothing. So that's important. Um, that's important. So pin 1 is brown. Pin 1, and I would actually, instead of just 1, I would put BRN, brown. 2 is white. WHT. 3 is blue. BLU, and 4 should be black. In fact, I'm not even going to switch back. That's how confident I am in that assessment, because those are the standard 4 colors for those pins. And then in color, this is actually just for appearances on the drawing, so I'm going to call it brown. Do we have a brown? There's a brown. Okay. This will show up in text. This will show up as like line colors. White, blue. So yeah, a little redundant, but again, it's all in the name of, and black. There's one other feature in here. Doesn't matter for this cable, but there's one other feature here that I'd like to point out, and that is group. Some wires, well, for instance, the one that was already in our database said it was a bonded twisted pair. An Ethernet cable, let's use that for instance, because an Ethernet cable's got 8 wires. It's got 4 bonded twisted pairs. So I would use this, for instance, in an Ethernet cable group. Group 1 would be 1 pair, and that's 2 colors. Group 2 would be pair number 2. That kind of thing is what group is for. In this, it doesn't matter. This is just a 4-wire cable. They all just kind of run through it. They're not twisted. They're not grouped in any special way. But that's what I personally use group for, is to, if it's a paired type of conductor, the way an Ethernet cable is. So we okay that. It's here now. We've got it. It's in our AWG standard close. Now I'm going to literally click here, right click on this wire, associate cable cores. And actually I may have to add the cable first. Oh no, I don't. New cable. I can find it. I do have to find the right stand. Oh, I should have given it AWG standard. Let's go to all. I do have to find it. Manufacturer Lumberg should be easy since it's the only one in there. There we go. We're going to add it. Okay. So I added a cable. My project now has a cable in it. Okay. Now I've told it to associate this wire that I clicked on with one of the wires in this cable. That was the input. That was on pin 4. So guess what? I'm going to select pin 4. Double click it. This turns bold, which tells me it's now associated. And you can see origin, destination, it's associated. That wire is now associated with this cable. And you can see it pops the description up. Cable 1, wire number 4, black. Okay? And I might hide it here. You can, so cable core is separate from wire label. Usually I want to show both, but up here it was getting way too crowded, right? So show hide wire mark here, and that's still crowded, but I can't do much about it right now. But normally I would show both, because it is wire 702. It is this wire within that cable. And this is how it'll appear on our drawings. Okay? This is how it'll appear on our drawings. Right? Now, same here. I need to associate these 2 wires with that same cable. So right click, and you can click more than one. So let's do that. Control click those 2, right click, associate cable cores. The hard part about this is paying attention to which one you have selected down at the bottom here, especially if you're doing like an Ethernet cable or something with a lot more cores. The hardest part is making sure you've got the right one selected. So this is going to be, was brown the common? Double check. Brown pin 1 is positive. Brown is the positive, so that's my 409 wire. Brown, double click, it's bold, they're tied together. Select this other one, that's going to be the blue. They're bold, they're tied together. Click OK. I've now got cables associated. And I can go through and I can do this for each and every. Actually, one thing I forgot here is I forgot to drop a terminal in, because this would normally land at a terminal strip. So keep that in mind. I put the terminals up here, but I forgot I wouldn't run this prox all the way to the I/O. I would put the terminal there. And why don't I do that now? Just because, again, the whole point is to show you guys the right way to do things. Terminal 5 and level 3. Okay. All right. We now need to break because this is just a wire, not part of the cable. This is the cable. We need to break this association, dissociate just that fast to get rid of it, and associate this one and tie it back to that input, which is pin 4 here, pin 4. So now we're good. We've got the terminal. Again, we're way overcrowded. I would play with this symbol more to get the text right and also just layout in general. But as a demo, this is what we have. And we have all the information now. This cable number 1, wire number 3 goes here. Right? It goes here. Well, actually, the procs, we're plugging into the procs. We're just screwing in. So I guess technically pin 3, the blue, goes to this terminal. That's where you put it. That's the information that these cables, the cable manager gives us, and we should use it. It's awesome. But cable managers, or cables, even though they're treated like manufacturer parts and they are things that we buy, they do not show up on the bill of materials. There is a separate drawing for cables. And that is under, if we go to project and our reports, this is where we create the bill of materials, right? I'm going to generate, where is it? Generate drawings. And I'm just going to check now list of cables. Click OK. It's going to think for a second. It'll update my bill of materials. It'll update my bill of materials. Close. Close, and notice now I have over on the left a list of cables grouped by reference. Okay. They're grouped by reference, so this part number, that'll list the individual cables. This has, if you look at a previous video, I had a how-to on how to customize the bill of material table. Same exact thing here. If we open up the default settings for this drawing, we can change this table to show us exactly the information that we want. Like right now, I haven't gotten too much into locations. In fact, I'm not even sure I've mentioned locations in SOLIDWORKS Electrical. It's another powerful tool. We might want to show, though, from component to terminal block or something, right? Which we can change elsewhere. We can also format it rather than breaking it up by part number. We could break it up by vendor, which I like to do. Do by vendor, then by manufacturer, then by part number, right? So I can send this just to whatever vendor I need. But either way, remember that your cables, the purchase stuff, does not get included. Like if I go to the bill of material, you will not find a Lumberg in here, right? This was updated at the same time that the cable drawing was created, but you will not find a Lumberg in here because they don't treat them. The bill of material only handles manufacturer parts. And PLCs. But since the cables are in a different manager, it does not fall under the bill of materials. We need a separate list of cables. Okay, but we need that to sort of complete our ordering, right? Because we know, like intuitively, this is a part of a bill of materials. It's just we have to you get the software to give us what we need to make it complete. So that is cables. They can get way more complicated, but it's all the same principles, right? We define the part number, give it all the information we can. We define the cores. And then we just associate those cores with wires that we have already drawn, which is kind of simple. So with that, I'd like to say goodbye. Hopefully you found that helpful and useful, maybe even mildly entertaining. That would be completely accidental. But I look forward to seeing you in the next SOLIDWORKS video.